Never says you can't.
It's not in the Bible. We don't care what you wear.
You sure?
Men's cutoffs, tank top.
It don't matter to me.
Is that what it is?
Almost with him. She's always smart. Yeah.
She's a dog.
There was a big portion of the roads I was driving on was tore up.
I like that tie.
Isn't it exciting?
That's good.
I took care of it.
She really is.
Campaign manager slash chief of staff.
Everyone rise, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, thank you for this day, and Lord, we really would like some dry weather, and I ask you to, just be with us tonight as we conduct the meeting and continue to be a hedge of protection about our city, and please prosper us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Newcastle City Council meeting Monday, June 17th, 2019 comes to order. Roll call, please.
Mary Brinson.
Here.
Jeff Hancock.
Here.
Jerry Walden.
Here.
Aaron Dickens.
Here.
Mark Hover.
Here.
Lynn Purdue.
Here.
Ray Spector.
Hi, or here. Hi, yeah. That's
Just getting warmed up, aren't you?
Just getting ready. Any corrections or additions to the minutes from the former meeting?
I make a move to accept the minutes from the previous meeting.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Mary Brinson.
Aye.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walden.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Hover.
Aye.
Lynn Purdue.
Aye.
Ray Spector.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. President, I turn this meeting over to you.
Thanks, Mayor. Agenda tonight has a resolution, 06/17/2019-1, resolution for the Common Council of the City of Newcastle, Indiana, authorizing the investment of public funds pursuant to IC 51395. Whereas the City of Newcastle, the city desires pursuant to Indiana Code 5-13-9-5 to allow banks outside the political subdivision to submit quotes on public funds, certificates of deposits for the purpose of investing its funds. Therefore, pursuant to IC 51395, the Common Council of the City of Newcastle hereby authorizes the investing officer of the city to invest in certificates of deposits of depositories that have not been designated by the local Board of Finance, but have been designated by the State Board of Finance as a depository for state deposits under Indiana Code. This authorization expires 1 year after the date of adoption. I move that we accept this.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded. Any other questions or comments? Roll call vote.
Mary Brinson.
Aye.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Jerry Walden.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Hover.
Aye.
Lynn Purdue.
Aye.
Ray Spector.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
That's everything for ordinances, resolutions. We'll go to committee reports. Turn the floor over to Councilor Brinton.
Okay, the only thing I have is, I turned in that, lot there that everybody says is owned by the state. And they did come and they knocked some of the weeds down there, but they still didn't finish the job. I don't know who mowed it. The guy that lived there, he said he thought it was the city that mowed it. Was it the city that come and mowed it?
No, we've done it for years, but when we found out it was the state just last year, the year before, I called them and they started taking care of it. But I've also let them know that they haven't taken care of it yet this year.
Okay, well, they knocked some of it down. At least you can see a little bit. But they done maybe a quarter of it.
didn't do it all.
So, but I thought I'd mention that again, maybe they'll come back when it stops raining, if it ever stops raining.
Where's that at, Mary?
It's at the I and Grand,
I agree.
yeah.
It's like a triangle there.
Yeah, and it's in city limits, but the state owns it. Which, it looks like instead of buying up other real estate around town, we'd take care of that, you know? So anyway, that's all I have.
Two things, if I can meet with the traffic committee after the meeting just for a couple minutes, and Rex can meet with you just a couple minutes after the meeting. That's all, Your Honor.
Okay.
Just want to report that the Housing Committee gave out 1,000 daylilies, or we actually set up in the Elks Bingo parking lot. They will be planted throughout the Castle Heights area. Off at 3 points there, where 18th Grand and A Avenue all come together, that one open area that the Healthy Community owns, depending on weather. They're going to start a project there this Friday to develop that up, landscape it, and put the benches out and all that. So just wanted to make everyone aware of that. Saw where they started chipping Parkview Drive today. Are you still planning on putting sidewalks down through there, Mr. Mayor?
Parkview,
Yeah.
they're already on the school side.
No, I mean on the 3. Was that one of the plans?
No, this is just the,
just
community
paving.
crossings grant.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's not with this part.
Okay.
Would love to someday, but not
Right.
this plan.
I was just asking because some people thought maybe that was going to go home with this
Yeah,
too.
no,
so-
we've got to get a lot approved before then. We've got to have sidewalks on the west side of Road 3 before it does us any good to put.
Which is
sidewalks
what
down.
we've talked about.
Which
So.
is what we're working on, yeah.
Okay. And that's it.
Okay.
I don't have anything.
I don't have anything.
It's not pothole season, but I want to revisit something we talked about during the season. There's a lot of patched areas that are around town. When we talked about when the weather got nicer and we weren't fighting it every day about cutting some of those up and treating them like a street cut, do we have any plans to do that, or do we have the equipment to do that, or?
We fixed this one up here ourselves on Main Street. It's probably 6 by 12 or 6 by. So, yeah, were you satisfied with that one, Greg?
Yeah, I think, we did a couple of test plots with Lee's new equipment on some of our water cuts to see maybe if we could use, the street department's equipment rather than an independent contractor. And we're very pleased with the results. I think it's gonna work out really well and save us quite a bit of money.
Well, I stopped by, they were doing one down at the bottom of Whittier Lane the other day, and I stopped by and watched them, and they were doing a great job. I mean, it looked good, and I know road money is hard to come by. And even though we're getting some paved streets, there's still gonna be a lot of streets that's got those 25 and 30-foot sections that just continually get patched every year. I was hoping when the weather was nice before next winter, we could get in there and get those, patched
Well,
properly.
But we've decided to do a couple different things since we've gotten the new asphalt chip and seal all over the city, like that one specifically. It brought to mind why asphalt to coat. We filled it within 1.5 inches of concrete.
Right.
We should have just filled it with concrete because we're gonna chip over it and resurface it anyway. So we're gonna keep an eye on them, and if in the near future, they're in the long-term control plan, or if we're gonna be replacing that road, there's no sense in touching it twice. We'll just fill it with concrete, and then when they come through to resurface all that.
They did it in front of my house, looks real good.
Yeah, so we've got a couple different, I'll explain it more to you, but we've got a couple
Okay.
different plans
All right.
intact. Touch it less and get the same results.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, we've got it surrounded.
All right, very good, as long as it's on top of mind. That's all I have.
Okay, I've got a couple things. Where are we at on our contract with the township in terms of fire?
We've got agreements with all of them.
I thought that expired, like, when does that expire?
we are kind of in talks again with South Henry because of all the new buildings going, Boar's Head and everything on there. So we're in negotiations with them on a couple different things. But
I just got the impression that our contract with Henry Township was about up, or,
well, there's a lot of different townships, so
Okay.
they're all different times.
okay.
South Henry's different than Henry.
But we don't
Township.
know if Henry Township's up, close to being up, or.
I'll have to look this out.
Okay.
I'm not
Maybe we
sure.
can find out then. And then I've got a little handout. Now, when we had the special meeting, we came up, I sent a list to all the council, came up with, I don't know, there had to be 20 plus items on that list, probably way more than we could ever hope for in Stellar. As I looked at the list, I thought that we had several things on there that were lower dollar value, that it kind of makes me think that if the Stellar people see that, they're gonna look at that and say, well, why couldn't you guys come up with $3,400 somewhere? You know, and so, you know, just thinking in terms of what we probably can't get with Stellar because we want to probably go for bigger projects. I've created this. I'm not asking for any vote tonight. I would like next meeting to maybe address it, but basically up in the red, we've got things that we could do tonight. I mean, if you add that total up, 40, 48, 56, and 63, and then whatever the streetscapes and signage. So, $75,000 or so, which we have in either Riverboat or Lowit or a combination of the two. We could take care of those things. They're safety issues, they're things that will enhance our environment here in Newcastle. So I'm really for dealing with those next meeting. And then the next section are things that we really need, but maybe it's not something we do this year, but we commit to it over the next 3 years. Has anybody ever got a pricing, Mayor, on a security system for this building? We talked about that last week. And maybe that's something, I'm sure there's 2 or 3 people love to give us a bid on that, but maybe we can find out a price for that. The imagers, I mean, all those things over the course of 3 years, we could, the Dodge truck might be a push, or, the all-terrain ambulance, but I would think that with a combination of Lowit and Riverboat over the next 3 years, we could make a commitment to do that. And then the 2 bottom things are higher dollar, the 35 portable radios, $63K, and the 34 dual band radios, $120K. But again, that might not be something we do. Sorry for the double T there on Riverboat. But anyway, we could get those things done as well, maybe with some grant help that we could probably find out there for that. And then, of course, the Spillman Module GPS program, $80,000 for the city, $80,000 for the county. We'd have to negotiate with the county. Is that something that, if just the city had that's usable, or does it have to be both the city and the county for that to be usable?
It has to be all of it. The module itself has to be all or nothing.
Okay, so
when you start paying for individual laptops,
Mhm.
the county can just outfit like their full-time guys and not the reserves if they want.
Okay, so in other words, we need to negotiate with the county to get them to pony up their share of that, and then we could conceivably do that, so, okay. But anyway, this is just food. We could have a little discussion now if you want. We don't have to, but this is something I'd like to bring up next meeting, especially the top section, to start knocking some of these things off. The other thing, it looks good when our Stellar report, when our presentation is made, if the person doing that can say, oh, as this started out, this brought about discussion, and these things got done simply as a result of starting the process. And that's another, feather in our caps. But anyway, that's all I've got. Does anybody want to say anything about this?
Rex, I really appreciate you taking the time to put all this together, because there was a lot of information given out at that meeting. And Patty and the others who came, and And you're exactly right. This looks good to those who are overseeing what we're doing.
Well, and plus it's important. They're
Yeah,
important things. I mean,
That's
you
what
know.
I was getting to.
Right.
These are things that we're laying out a plan for that's really going to help the community. You know, it's going to benefit. It's just not stuff that you're picking out and saying, we want this because. I mean, these are legitimate items that were brought up in the discussions. I appreciate the effort that you.
The only one that wasn't brought up in the public portion of the meeting the other night was the signage entering Newcastle from Highway 38 East. That somebody brought that up to me after the meeting, and I put it on the list. I can't believe it's a huge dollar ticket, but it would be nice to dress that area up and probably start to make a plan to put signage at some of our other entries to the city as well. I mean, so people.
Yeah, the one on Road 3 south, you can just barely see it and all that. It's a very
It's a
small.
good spot for that.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about updating them with, I think we've got a couple volleyball state champions to add.
Yeah, there's some stuff we could put on.
Little League.
definitely.
I mean, there's, yeah.
Okay.
Well, my question is, I know there's a percentage that we have to match, okay? My question is, if we pick these out and we paid for them and did, I understand that would look good on our, good faith effort to, what we're trying to do. But we're also, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're pulling dollars out of our way of, out of our pot to match our share of the grant. You see what I'm saying? If we
Yeah.
left them in,
My
I don't know,
thought-
there could be $200,000 there.
No, well, in the top part,
I did this, Rick, that's
yeah,
everything.
okay. But there might be 200, I think more closer to 150, but we have a good amount of money, and I can pretty much, we haven't got a dispensation from Riverboat.
Well, we don't
yet
have to
this
get a
year.
number, but my question is,
Yeah.
if we left them in, that would keep our funds higher to be able to come up with our match if we were awarded it.
Well, I think we need to think about that, but I do think we would still have match money.
Okay.
I mean, it's something we can look at more, but, we've got
I
a
just don't
million,
wanna shoot
we've got
ourselves
about
in the foot.
$1.5 million, I think, in Lowit right now. We've got, close to probably, when we get our allotment, over 400,000 Riverboat, so I mean, I think we'll have money to find a match, especially, if we start with this, which is, not a hot, whatever number I said, well, maybe this is what we knock off with the intention of doing this, and all of a sudden, if we don't have match money, we don't do some of this other. But the thing is, when they look at us and we've got, 25 projects from Newcastle or more, and, that's kind of a little overwhelming to, it's like you're seeing this big number of things, and you may end up throwing out some things that are more important. I mean, like the EMS and the police renovation, the water tower, money for roads, and
Funding more of them.
I'm just trying to think of ways to make us more attractive, I guess.
Well, and I think
Appreciate that, but
Yeah, well, I think what he's trying to hit on too is, I mean, if you look, for example, the barricades, the flashing stops, and the Rambo bike all total, those three are totaling $16,000. So you're looking at the city's match if they were to do Stellar at $3,000, and the state would be chipping in $13,000. And so I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the lower hanging fruit, if you will, getting some of that out of there so that we can more fully fund the bigger stuff like the streetscapes and the bigger equipment.
And some of those
I
things,
agree with that.
for example, the skate park. Well, between in-kind, a lot of our match can be in-kind, like on the skate park. But what wasn't in-kind, well, we're probably talking about bringing that out of Riverboat money. But, on 250,000, 50,000, well, we've got way more than that. The water tower, the mayor's gonna have to figure out a way to come up with a match for the water tower. And the streets, basically, we've got a match for the streets. We've done it with community crossings, more or less, for this past year. A lot of the matches won't be money that we're going to take away from if we do this. That's what I believe.
Okay.
So, anyway, that's all I've got.
Thank you.
So you're just itching to ask Rex a question.
Yeah, I can ask later.
You can ask now.
We're talking about Stellar. I feel like it, when we go to pick our projects on the Stellar, correct me if I'm wrong, Kathy, we need a council commitment. And,
Council and city. I mean, the whole, yeah.
yes, especially, this is what we want, and this is what we can afford,
Mhm.
and we need to make for sure we have that money. Because if we go in and have a project, I'm just gonna throw it out, because I've been working with the EMS and the police and the renovation, and say, we would really like this, hopefully we will have the money for the renovation. That hopefully will have us out. And so,
I don't think we would take projects that we didn't have matched. We've known all along we had to have a match. So we have to be thoughtful as to where that would come from, and some of that can be land, some of it can be volunteer architectural plans. We have to keep through all of that piece. But I don't think it would be wise at all to send a project to Indianapolis and say, we're still hoping that this will go through.
Well, I wouldn't think we would.
No, I
Wouldn't
don't
think
think
we
that
would
was-
do that.
it would have to be a vote.
So.
Okay, any questions or comments about that? Chief, anything? Okay, council? No? Just to let you guys know, our 3 new buses came in. They should be on the road next week. These new buses have, bike racks on the front of them. Good. Great. Lee?
The only thing I'd like to say is, you're talking about the street cuts and things. If, through this conversation, and I don't know that, you've already got some ideas, but the street department could actually use a roller. Because right now, we're having to rent, every time
I saw
we have
that.
bigger sections, you'll have to build and rent that, and a new roller for what we're needing is somewhere around $14,000 to $15,000.
Now, at one time, Mayor, you said we could get a used roller somewhere. Was that?
We're always on the lookout on the auction block for used roller.
But a lot of times when you buy that stuff used, you run into more time you fix it up where it's actually usable. You spend as much fixing it plus the cost. as-
Lee likes new.
Yeah.
He likes
Lee
it.
likes
Oh, we got to tell. I can tell.
Headache free.
I do like new.
It's okay. That's all right.
This is because when you're talking about $8,000 for usable versus 14 to 15, you're not gonna have.
I kind of agree with you.
I agree with you, yeah. Yeah.
Agree with
The
you.
new rollers.
But anyway, if you have some money
Okay.
that you can throw
Headache
there,
free.
that would be greatly appreciated, because I'm not sure what Greg is spending on street cuts for having an outside contractor doing it. But as a street department, and as a person in charge of the street department, I would much rather see our guys fixing our streets and saving the tax dollars money, and that's one way it would pay for itself in cost of not contracting it out on these street cuts.
I agree.
I think it could be used for other departments.
Right,
Also,
they could be
such
used.
as for our department, every time they have water main break. Multi-use. Are there any citizens wishing to appear before the council this evening? Come ahead.
I'd just like to find out where we're at on this change of speed limit. I know they put up a check your speed sign, but that's a joke. It ain't work.
It doesn't work?
Nope. It lasted 2 days.
Well, would you like to go over some statistics?
It's turned on to stealth mode so we can get data, because we didn't want it up and people slowing down just because of the sign, and then it shows that people are slowing down just because of the sign. I can show you the data. The average for the last week has been about 24.6 miles an hour. And it'll tell you exactly the fastest car went through in that half hour, and then the average for that half hour. The fastest speed I've seen was 50, and I suspect that was probably a police car. But the average is like 24.7.
Well, I know for a fact, it wasn't one police cruiser went through there at 47 miles an hour.
I don't doubt that.
I was sitting there on my porch and watched it go by.
When they're responding to calls, obviously they'll be going faster depending on the call.
I don't understand why.
But the average speed, I've got it right here on my laptop if you want to look at it. You go through, I am surprised how many cars go through there.
Yeah, it's probably one of the busiest streets in Newcastle.
It's real simple.
I'm surprised.
We've set that up, and if you turn it on, the numbers blink, everybody's gonna slow down. We turned it on, and we've got documented of every car
Oh, yeah, they
through
slowed
there
down.
in the last week.
Absolutely did. I'm thinking, oh, they finally got the traffic slowed down anyway.
Well,
But I don't understand is why. How'd Midway Drive get theirs changed? I've never seen them up here saying anything about it, wanting their speed limit changed. How did Parkside get theirs changed? I have never seen anybody up here complain, but they got theirs changed. How?
We've documented, and every car's went through there this week, and it's closer to 24 miles an hour than it is 30 miles. The average is closer to 24 than it is 30.
Just like this morning, I was out there with my dog, watching a truck go by, and I know he was doing 50.
So
And all it
if
takes
we-
is that one.
If we changed the speed limit sign, every time one person came in, we'd just be as well off only by 20-mile-an-hour speed limit signs for the whole city.
Why, it's 20 on Parkside, 20 on this street. This street in the middle is 30.
You know, and you're the only one that's ever said a word about it.
And
You're the only one on Q Avenue
we're a block
within
from
2
the high
blocks there.
school, 2 blocks from Parker School, and 2 blocks from the other school. So we're in the school zone.
So every time one person comes in, we should just change the speed limit.
No.
Does that make sense?
Well, okay, how did they get theirs changed? What I wanna know. How did they, why was it
The
changed?
traffic committee went through a process, and the traffic committee does their
I have
job.
never
So,
seen anybody complain
if I-
about it, never seen anything at the city council about it.
I'll interject here real quick because it's pretty simple. So we've got that sign set up for 30 days. We've all got it on the plan to bring this back up the second meeting in July when we can make a decision, look at that data and make a decision from there. I think the traffic committee has talked, I mean, I remember talking to you last year and talking to a few of the other families that came, and it'll be a council decision, second meeting in July. So come back then and we'll make a decision.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any other citizens wishing to come before the council this evening? Come ahead. Did you want to bring your guest with you this morning, or this evening?
No, it's all right. That's Silas, and other family members are actually going out to buy him a birthday gift for tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
He's going to be attached to me. But that's not why I came up here, though. As the Chamber of Commerce, I just wanted to mention a couple of things for you guys. One is that we are having a lunch on Wednesday, the 19th, with Josh Estel.
Estel.
Josh Estel.
Yes, Estel. It's at 11:30. We look forward to that. We are actually rolling out a new membership program of a health benefit, health insurance for our members. And then as well as the fact that next Thursday is our annual golf outing at the Memorial Park. I also want to comment on a couple things that we're having quite a few ribbon cutting ceremonies. And I think that's an exciting thing for the city, as when we do ribbon cutting ceremonies, we usually do it for two main reasons. One is that either there's been a move or renovation, or it's a new business that's moving into the area. And for example, this week we're having 3 ribbon cutting ceremonies, one tomorrow for Small Wonders Gymnastics, one on Friday for Citizen State Bank, and then one next Thursday for Gordon's, who will be kicking off over there at Route 3. So I encourage any of you, if you can be there for those ribbon cutting ceremonies, it'd be a great way to welcome and to encourage these businesses being part of our community.
Do you have times on those?
Yes, I do. Tomorrow's is at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's Small Wonders. The Citizen State Bank's at 10 in the morning on Friday. And then Gorman's, I think, is at 9. Yes, it's at 9 in the morning on the 27th. All right.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Doing a great job.
Thank you, sir.
Any other citizens wishing to come before the council?
Your Honor, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Meeting adjourned.
6 more, 6 tomorrow.